Have you guys heard about this new Hogwarts Legacy video game? I've been checking it out and it looks pretty cool to me. I can't wait to play it. Hi, I'm Troy. So, as you may know, I was a past developer for Hogwarts Legacy, but it has been nearly 2 years since I last worked on the project. The game has advanced tremendously in that time. When I was there, I was a senior producer working in support of the NPC behaviors team and the castle and its contents team. Now, because I was heads down and focused in on really just those two aspects of the game, there is an awful lot that I haven't seen. For example, there are many quests that I've never experienced, enemy types that I've never encountered, spells I haven't tried, gear I haven't worn, loot I've never collected, and even entire storylines that I haven't experienced. I spent so much time inside the castle walls, with just a little bit of time visiting Hogsmeade, that anything outside of that is largely fresh territory. So, I anticipate spending many happy days getting fabulously lost in the wilderness of forests and swamplands. I'm excited because, quite honestly, a lot of the game will be brand new to me. I also fully expect that I'm going to need to be visiting a fan-made wiki at some point just so I do not miss anything. So, as we await the release of the game together, I thought I might share a thought or two that I've had as the time draws to a close. Now, my intention in doing so is to deepen and enrich your own forthcoming Hogwarts Legacy experience. I certainly don't want to say anything that might diminish your own discoveries, and so what I have to say here will be scrupulously 100% spoiler-free. Even so, with that being said, this is probably a good time to emphasize that I am not a WB employee and I do not represent Avalanche Software in any way. I'm just Private Citizen Troy now, and a fellow Hogwarts Legacy fan. I just happened to get a small taste of how delicious the game was going to be while it was still being cooked. And so now I am looking forward to digging into the full magical feast that has been set before us. And by Merlin's beard, I think this is going to be so much fun. So the first thought that I want to share with you has to do with why I've been so consistently supportive and confident in the game. That has to do with what I perceive as one of the main historical strengths of Avalanche Software. In the early days of development, Avalanche approached the design of the game very much how we had approached the development of our past titles like Disney Infinity, by seeking first to understand and respect the IP for which we would be developing. Many folks in the studio were already big fans of the Wizarding World. The rest of us quickly worked to come up to speed on the ins and outs of the property so that we could be genuine fans ourselves. This meant that we immersed ourselves in the books, the films, the lore, and the music before we started to narrow in too much on a specific game feature or mechanic. The decision to make an open-world RPG emerged from this early exploration of the IP. It was ultimately what felt right for what we thought would most appeal to fans. We felt that our core audience really just wanted to have the experience of attending Hogwarts themselves as opposed to playing as some other character. They wanted to live out their fan fantasy of being whatever witch or wizard they imagined themselves to be. I believe that this philosophy of making the game by fans, for fans, permeated most of the design direction and production decisions throughout development. The game was intended to be fan service from very early on. By setting the game in a time frame that hadn't yet been explored in the books or films, allowed us to centralize the player character where he or she wouldn't be overshadowed by other well-known characters. That's what the "Live the Unwritten" tagline is getting at. It also, therefore, afforded us the most opportunities to make the player into the central hero of his or her own Wizarding World story. When Alan 2 speaks of the game being your Hogwarts Legacy in the behind-the-scenes video, I feel he is underscoring this key philosophy. We wanted to make a game that felt welcoming and inviting to everyone and anyone who wanted to visit our version of the Wizarding World. So, our target was simple: to make a high-quality game that we, as fans ourselves would find satisfying, authentic, and enjoyable. I view the effort to make the character creator more robust in terms of race and gender options to be in line with this goal. It was a way to extend the invitation a little wider so that even more fans could see themselves represented in the wizarding world. What this means to you, as a new player, is that you can expect the game to reward fans who pay attention to detail. As you make your way through the game, be sure to drink in all the richness and all the many, many tie-ins to establish Wizarding World lore. I am also of the opinion that, although the game is not officially canon, it has been so meticulously realized that it will eventually become recognized as such. In fact, and I'm just speculating here, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a new film or series spin off from this game. I guess we'll see. The second thought I want to share with you is related to the first. Now, in my opinion, I suspect that my departure from the studio served as a sort of canary in the coal mine situation for the Hogwarts Legacy marketing team. It alerted them that they were dealing with a press environment that was considerably more hostile towards the game than I think any of us had anticipated. Now, I don't know this for sure, but my guess is that they decided to change some of their PR and marketing strategy as a result. They decided to take the game directly to the fans, which is who we were making the game for anyway, rather than to try and swim upstream against a biased press that seemed dead set on overshadowing all the good work the team was doing by painting everything with the scary brush of controversy. I believe that this direct outreach to the fans from community manager Chandler and the rest of the Hogwarts Legacy community team was a masterstroke of marketing brilliance. And, well, you can see the results for yourself. That direct outreach to the Wizarding World fans allowed them to catch the vision of what the team was trying to do. And they, in turn, became some of the biggest supporters and promoters of the game. Some of the most entertaining and informative video presentations made about the game, sometimes garnering hundreds of thousands or even millions of views, came directly from these fans. Furthermore, as fans pored over every new video clip, scouring them for new details and hints and bits of information, I think that they discovered something completely unexpected. They discovered that they were having fun with the game months before it was released. It turns out they were already playing a Hogwarts Legacy game, just not the video game version. If you want to understand this phenomenon of constellating around the game in depth, I strongly recommend the brilliant 1999 Game Developers Conference talk given by Professor Brian Moriarty entitled Who Buried Paul? I was in the audience myself, so I got to experience it live. In my opinion, this is one of those lectures that all aspiring game designers must watch. I'll leave a link in the notes. I sincerely believe that there is a lesson in this outreach between devs and players. I hope that more game dev studios start to appeal directly to their core audiences. In our modern age of social media where fans and developers can readily interact, the need for a gaming press to act as an intercessory go-between has been greatly diminished. I think that Hogwarts Legacy proves this, and I personally see this as a welcome and necessary change in our industry. And now for my third and final thought. To be fair, I need to give credit on this one to a transformative 30-minute one-on-one conversation I had way back in 1998 when I had only a few years' experience making games. That conversation was with the then soon-to-be recipient of the Game Development Lifetime Achievement Award, Danny Bunton-Berry. Now, I've talked about Danny before, and so recounting here all the many reasons why she was so influential in gaming is beyond the scope of this video, so I encourage you to look her up afterwards. But suffice it to say, I was a huge fanboy back in 1998. I was a little starstruck that, after she had finished her GDC lecture about a game that she had been working on called Acrophobia, which was this kind of early precursor to party games like the You Don't Know Jack series, that Danny was willing to sit down at a table off to the side of the conference and share some of her thoughts about game development with a noob designer like me. This was back in the days of the PlayStation 1, and so the industry was transitioning away from being primarily 2D centric into this new territory of going 3D. So too, multiplayer networked play, be it via modem, LAN, or this newfangled internet thing, was also pretty new stuff, and there was a lot of buzz about emerging techs and how they were shaking things up. Personally, at the time, I thought that getting up to speed on these new technologies and their impacts was the most important thing I could do. However, what Danny told me completely changed the way I thought about gaming and game development from that point forward. In that conversation, she encouraged me not to get too focused in on any specific technologies, or really even to get too caught up in what is happening on the computer screen in front of the player. But rather, she said, she felt it was crucial to keep your development centered around the human side of things, to look more at the other side of the screen, at the player themselves, and how they were reacting and responding to your game. You see, games are a sort of a cooperative endeavor between players and developers. Games are a unique and special art form in the sense that they are participatory. The greatest graphics, the best frame rate, the most compelling story, or the longest feature list doesn't mean anything if you don't have a player to experience it. The game just sits there doing nothing until the player arrives to breathe life into your world. In the end, all that technology is ultimately in support of providing the player with an engaging game experience. This is one of those ideas that once it gets into your head, it starts to realign your entire worldview. Of course, when you start to put the player's experience at the center of your game design, it provides you with a powerful tool to help you make more engaging stories, more accessible user interfaces, better control schemes, and so on. It helps you to cut through all the technology scaffolding surrounding a game's features or performance, and to get to the heart of things by seeing how it is that your players are responding to their experience with the game. It helps you to focus on what is truly important. Is the game meeting the expectations of your audience, and are they having fun? But there is an even deeper implication to this player-centric approach. You begin to recognize that without players, there would be no one to experience all those years of development. And when that thought really sinks in, it sparks a rather unexpected emotion. It comes to fill you with a deep sense of gratitude for your players. Instead of thinking of developers over here on the one side of the screen and players over there on the other, almost like we're on opposite sides of the field, you start to recognize that it's really not like that at all. We are all playing on the same team and on the same field together. What this means is that you, yes, you, the person listening to this right now, you, the player, are the most important ingredient in Hogwarts Legacy. You are the one that brings the magic to the game. When you put that controller in your hands, fire up the game, and hear the music swell as those initial credits start to flow, please take a moment to feel that gratitude of the developers wash over you. None of this would exist if it weren't for you. So to those that are about to play Hogwarts Legacy, I want to say simply, thank you. Thank you for cooperating with the team to bring that Wizarding World vision to life. Well now, the time is short, and so it's time to get those wands at the ready, and game on, my friends.